Here's my number one tip to your audience. Short-term investments, don't go buy an RV. It doesn't appreciate like real estate does. It depreciates. But yeah, that's exactly the case is people use them once or twice a year or they end up not using them at all.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the STR Investing Podcast. I am your co-host Mark Lumpkin, and this week we're doing things a little bit differently. We always talk about short-term rentals, investing in the short-term rental space, but as we started to branch out, we're talking more and more about different hospitality avenues. And so I'm really excited today about the guest that we've brought to you guys. Without further ado, introduce him. Gar Russell, say hi to everybody, man.
Hey y'all, how y'all doing?
Cool, man. So just so you know, Gar, most of our listeners are individual investors who are oftentimes new in the short-term rental investing journey. They're out there buying their first or second or third short-term rental. And a lot of people are looking for cash flow, tax savings, a lot of the benefits that come from that. We try to bring them practical tips and tricks. But you've got a little bit different journey and a little bit different story, man. And I'd love to just get a little background on you to start. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Gar Russell, seasoned entrepreneur. I write about it in my real estate story. I've been an entrepreneur since fifth grade. And I didn't know the word entrepreneur in fifth grade. But yeah, started, scaled, sold several businesses. All my businesses, they kind of started out of pain, and then it turned into the purpose of what I do. But had a credit counseling company for over a decade. Worked with lenders, realtors, a lot in the credit space. As most entrepreneurs do, I think we all end up in wanting to invest in real estate. So I built a fairly impressive real estate portfolio, which I lost most of during COVID. And like I was telling you before we started the recording, I love sharing all my failures and all the places I screwed up in life. And so I can share a little bit about that, how I sold off multiple seven figures of real estate to keep my life afloat. And fell into RV rentals then. And that was another pain to purpose. Bought my wife an RV for our 10-year wedding anniversary. And she's pregnant with baby number 4, 7 months pregnant, hot, miserable, middle of July. Walking around a campground like, what in the world am I doing here? This is horrible. She says she's going home. So there I sit with my brand new RV. And I end up throwing it up for rent. And fast forward to today, we have the nation's largest RV rental management franchise, 70 locations around the country.
Damn, man. Good for you guys. That's so cool. I love those businesses that are born out of pain points or out of just life smacking you in the face and your pregnant wife saying, I don't want an RV, man. I want to go home. And you're like, I just bought this damn thing. We don't own an RV, but I would guess that a vast majority of people that own recreational vehicles don't use them more than once or twice a year. Do you have any statistics on that?
Exactly. You nailed it right there. Yeah, there's over 12 million RV owners around the country. That was going to be, here's my number one tip to your audience. Short-term investments, don't go buy an RV. It doesn't appreciate like real estate does. It depreciates. But yeah, that's exactly the case is people use them once or twice a year or they end up not using them at all. We've literally gotten to the point in our business where if somebody uses their RV like 3-4 times a year, we don't enroll them into our program. Because we don't want to share their RV with them. We're like, no, you actually use it. You just keep it. We're looking for people that literally it's like, hey, here's the keys. I never want to see this thing again.
That's so cool, man. So, Gar, let's dive into the business real quick. Will you touch on what you guys do at Fireside RV Rentals?
Yeah, so basically we're a management company. Just like you'd hire a management company to take care of your real estate portfolio. We do the same for RVs. We call it wheel estate instead of real estate. So people hand us the RVs. The cool thing about our business model is it's very low overhead. So we don't have brick and mortar locations where we have all the overhead. We just partner with a storage facility, or if our franchisees have property, they just group the RVs together on their property, and then we do everything for the RV owners. So we maintenance it, we deliver it, set it up for the renter, we handle everything, and then they get a paycheck monthly, and it's passive for them. And, there are a couple other benefits, just like real estate. They can depreciate it under the same tax code you can depreciate real estate under. They can write off, the insurance and the interest and maintenance and this and that.
That's so cool, man. Are people typically, what is, just because I'm curious, because I've got a small driveway here with a couple of jet skis already sitting in it and thinking I don't have room for anything else. Do people typically store these at storage facilities? Do you guys store them for them? How do people manage like the actual storage of the unit?
Yeah, so when we take an RV under management, we're taking that from that person's home and we're putting that at one of our locations.
At one of your locations, gotcha.
Yeah, and that location is ran out of typically a storage facility. So that's what I was saying. Like, it's super low overhead for our franchisees because they just find a storage facility within 15, 20 minutes of them. They group all their inventory together. The owner of the RV pays for the storage, and then we take it from there.
Very cool. Okay, cool. So most people are doing, or not most people, everyone's doing it off site. All right, we got to wind back this thing a little bit. It's good to hear what you guys do, but scrolling back to day one, right? You've bought this RV, wife's not going to use it. You realize, oh crap, I might use this thing once or twice a year. How did you go from renting out one of your units to then saying, I'm going to scale this and build a franchise that has 70 locations across the country?
You know, it's just kind of one of those things as an entrepreneur that revealed itself to you as you take, steps forward. So I had a real estate portfolio. I managed all my own real estate. I understood the business. I had other businesses. And so I thought, well, heck, I'm just going to take this RV and throw it on Craigslist for rent. Same as I'll throw my rental properties up. And literally within a couple hours, I had people reaching out. Hey, we're going to this campground, on these dates. What's it cost for delivery and all that stuff. So I thought, all right, here we go. So literally, I got a booking. I'm like, all right, well, PayPal me this money and blah, blah, blah. And there we were. So then I reached out to my best friend, Jeremy. I'm like, dude, I just rented my RV. Do you want me to rent your RV out for you? Because he had a regular job and he wasn't as free in his time as I was. I said, yeah, I'll deliver it for you and everything, man. Let's see what happens. So I started renting out his RV, and I messaged my buddy Darren, same deal. Then I messaged my sister-in-law, Tiffany, and she's like, no, that's stupid. Why would I let somebody sleep in the bed of my camper that I'm going to sleep in too? That's gross. That's a horrible idea. I'm like, all right, well, I'm 3 for 4. I think we got something here, And so I did what, any entrepreneur does. I started putting together a contract and my little marketing kit. And then I literally discovered this was in 2016. Right at the same time, there was a peer-to-peer industry starting for this. So just how you put your short-term rental on Airbnb, there's RVshare.com and Outdoorsy.com. They literally started 1 year before. This was just ground floor, everything. So I threw my units up on there and I joined the Facebook groups, for the industry, and I start talking and going there and adding value and sharing, what I'm doing and learning. And then I had some guy in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan several months later. He's like, hey, this is pretty cool what you're doing, man. Why don't I be your guinea pig? I'll launch a location up here for you. He had his one RV that he rented, and we made a deal. He was location number 2, and then it turned into a business in a box. For $995, I'm going to teach you how to do what I'm doing. And then it turned into, hey, for $5,000, you're going to actually come into my branding and this and that. And then, fast forward to today, it's $35,000 for a franchise and a royalty fee and all the things.
Cool, man. I love that. I love the people that get in on the ground floor of stuff like this, and they can look back and go, oh my gosh, 5 years ago or however many years ago, it looked like this. It's changed so much, but really the core value add hasn't changed at all. And so you guys are doing fleet management. Are people allowed to use their RVs, or is that not an option if someone's got an RV that they want to use? It's simply just to be put into the fleet.
No, they can definitely use it, but if somebody is using it a decent amount of time, yeah, and especially if they have an emotional connection to it too, this is our family camper, that's probably not the best fit for them. Really, we're a short-term solution for short-term rentals. It's like, hey, you owe too much on this thing to sell it, or you're just in a busy season of life, whatever's going on. A lot of military, they get deployed. They're like, here, just take the RV, manage it for us while we're gone, or rent it out, help us pay the principal down some, and then that's another part of our business. We sell the RVs for people on consignment. And, there's all these little offshoots that we have in the business.
So cool, man. So what was your what has been your personal experience with RVing? From a business aside, have you and your family done a bunch of RV traveling? Are you avid RVers? Walk us through that.
Yeah, we're most definitely avid RVers. Once my wife had Isabella, baby number 4, then we started camping and we fell in love with the whole, concept of camping and traveling and all that stuff. And things quickly escalated there. We built up this RV rental location and we put our staff and systems and processes in place. And then literally, this was unit number 16. We bought a 31-foot Class C bunkhouse. And that winter, we hit the road. We left for, I don't know, like 8-9 weeks. Went out to California, up and down, came back, brought the mother-in-law. The next winter, it was 3 months. And then it escalated into where we just became full-time RVers. And we were kind of cheaters, though, on the full-time RVers. You know, some of those hardcore full-timers might say we weren't true full-timers. We had a place up in Michigan on a lake with a 42-foot park model sitting on it. And then we had one at a hobby ranch down in Florida. And then we had a Class A, and we went back and forth. And we ended up doing the full-timing for about 5 years. And yeah, we had a blast. We circled the country several times. And
did you do that with your kids?
Yeah.
What were the ages when your kids were when you were doing that?
Oh, Isabella was a baby. Like literally, we're at the I can't think of the name of it. That dam. What's the name of that dam?
Oh, the Hoover Dam?
We're at the Hoover Dam with our baby. We didn't have a car seat with us. That's like how comfortable we were RVing. And we pull up to the Hoover Dam place. They're like, "Where's your car seats? You know, you have a baby and a toddler." We're like, "Oh, we got seat belts. Like, we're good." He's like, "All right, well, I'm going to let you through, but I guarantee you, like, the actual local police, like, they're going to boot you out. You probably get a ticket." And they didn't say anything. We just kept on going. So yeah, our 9-year-old Isabella literally has spent more time in an RV than she has in a home.
It's I love when people are I'm obviously a huge advocate of traveling, and that's a big reason why we love investing in short-term rentals, and why a lot of our listeners do as well, is because they have those options. But if you have 1 or 2 locations, you are stuck at those 1 or 2 locations, right? You're not picking up a house and going somewhere else. The RV really gives you the ultimate freedom and allows you to go anywhere. So would you say that a vast majority of people that are doing this, it's like a byproduct? It's just it's a secondary option. They bought the RV and then they're not using it as much as they wanted to. Or would you say that you've got people that are out there just buying recreational vehicles simply to put them into the program and to cash flow and to make money on?
We do have some that are doing those. We do have some competitors that's all they did. And honestly, during COVID, they went under, unless they're buying with cash. If they're financing, especially if they're financing drivables, right, where now you introduce an engine and you've got mileage and wear and tear, stuff like that, and how quick that's going to depreciate. If you're not charging the right mileage fees, and you're not appropriating the right amount of your revenue towards paying the principal down, you're going to get yourself in a really bad position. But on the other side of it, you know, if you're going and you're dropping 15, 20 grand on like a 3 to 5 year old bunkhouse travel trailer, then you can make it work. You can, you know, if you're renting it yourself, obviously you're making, you know, a lot more. But then you can make it work where you can do it passively, throw it into one of our management programs, especially at specific locations, right? Like we've got locations, Florida, California, Arizona, where it's more of a year-round environment. So there's a lot more earning potential. Actually, my 17-year-old Emma, she just bought a 2021 bunkhouse travel trailer. She had saved up. We own a restaurant. We own several businesses. We own a restaurant that she works at as a waitress, and she makes really good money. She just was able to go buy a camper with cash, and she put it into our Bradenton, Florida location, which is one of our top locations. And she's just like, "Dad," she just got she had a booking last week that brought her in $630. She netted on that. And then the day it came back, it got a 9-day booking. So that'll probably net her about another $900. So she's like, "Dad, I'm cashing in." This is, 17 years old. She thinks she's like conquered life, So there's definitely ways to do it strategically.
That's so cool. Good for her. That's really, really cool. So it definitely can work for anyone. And you see people doing, different investing models. Have you seen is it super seasonal? Like in short-term rentals, obviously you've got some pretty big seasonalities, but even in our slow months here at the beach, we still get 2, 3, 4 week bookings at a time. We get snowbirds. It's at a much lower rate, but we are pretty much booked all year round. Do you see some pretty big seasonality with RVs?
Yeah, especially in the northern locations. Once I call it a 6-figure summer. You've got 5 months where you're just crushing it, and the money's just flooding in. And that's why we started, hitting the road, because it's like, all right, it's November. We're just going to winterize our units, right? Because that's a factor of this business is you got to winterize in the wintertime and you put them away. And then your travel then at that time of the year is more like, hey, we're getting an RV. We're going to Disney. We're going to California. We're going, on a trip like that. So you get those bookings, and then you get, Christmas, Thanksgiving, family reunions where people are hunting, ice fishing. We're like, hey, we need a unit, deliver it here. We're just going to sleep in it. And so you get those little onesie twosies, but yeah, you're going to do a bulk of your business. Mid-June to mid-August, our average rental is 6 days, $1,600, and that's the bulk of the business. But then yeah, like Florida, California, Arizona, some of the year-round locations, they've got, like right now, we've got it's called Fun and Sun going on over here in Florida. I've got one location, the whole fleet's there right now for this Fun and Sun event. And then we do NASCAR, Bonnaroo Music Festival, all of those different kinds of events too, where literally we just did the Okeechobee Music Festival. You probably heard of that being in Florida. We had from like 4 of our locations, all of our fleets were there for like 3 weeks for the staff,
Love that. That's so cool. Are you guys leveraging dynamic pricing? I would assume, as you've got some really, like the 4th of July weekend has got to be the most expensive weekend to get an RV and things like that, right?
Yeah, we do as much as we can. The platforms that we use, they're not as, up to date as like, I do Airbnb short-term rentals too. So I use Price Labs, so I've got a lot more that's going on there. They don't have that kind of technology in this space yet, but we do for the most part.
We might need to start it.
We actually just built our own software because we had a dealer software now with 70 locations. We just brought a guy on a couple months ago, full-time, exclusive for us, AI software systems, and we've got AI chat bots that can walk you through tech, troubleshooting the tech stuff on RVs and all kinds of fun stuff, man.
Yeah, so cool, man. So out of your franchisees, are they just spread all across the country? Is there some, hot spots that you guys see?
Yeah, we're pretty much spread across the country. We don't have a ton up in the Northwest yet. We just launched our first location in Utah. We had one in Las Vegas that he didn't follow our business model. He completely flopped. He went and got a huge facility right on the strip in Las Vegas. It looked epic, right? He had the building painted, our logos all over it. Like, it looked really cool from a brand marketing standpoint, but he had like a $15,000 a month lease. And that's not the business model. The business model is go to a storage facility. Like our location in Lithia, they have a 5-acre property they live on. So they get to collect all the storage revenue from the owners and then plus all the revenue, but it's not built to be super overhead intensive.
Yeah, if you don't follow the playbook, that's obviously a recipe for disaster. And if you buy into a playbook and then don't follow the playbook, then you're just an idiot.
Oh man, this guy even said it. I mean, he's like, I didn't follow the playbook. I don't fault you guys at all. It was a total ego move on his end, and he looked cool for a couple months, and that was it.
Live and learn, man. Live and learn. Are you finding that most of the franchisees are just onesie twosies, just mom and pop? They've bought 1 or 2 locations, or are you seeing some kind of serial entrepreneurs, like you said, snatching up multiple locations and doing this over and over again?
We have I think 4 multi-unit operators now, which is great. And then too, what we're seeing also is just people in the RV space. So like we have a couple RV dealerships that are adding this onto what they're doing, because literally they can take brand new inventory, rent it out, get the benefits of that depreciation. It's a lead generator for them, and then they throw it back on their lot as used inventory. Then we have RV storage facilities that's like, right, they're maxed out on space. There's no other way to increase except increasing their storage revenue. And now it's like a mind-blowing whole new avenue of business for them. And so we have that. And then we just launched a Facebook ad campaign 2 weeks ago calling out RV techs. And we've already had 2 franchises sign up out of that because for them, it's like a no-brainer.
For sure. They're already working on them. People are bringing them in for their yearly maintenance and that kind of stuff. I love that. What are the tax benefits? I know a big thing for our listeners and a lot of people in the short-term rental space is that they get to, especially with the big, beautiful bill passing about 6 months ago, damn near coming up on a year now, 8 months ago, but you've got some major tax benefits. You can bonus depreciate the property. You can write off all your losses. You can, do your material participation, things like that. Do you have any sense of what the tax benefits are? And if you don't, it's okay. But for people that are buying, the RVs to be investment properties, to be investments?
Honestly, I don't. That's something I should get more data on, because I have had investors that literally at the end of the year, right? you see others that go out and they buy a couple brand new trucks just to offset taxes and this and that. And we've had several investors that have done that. They'll go scoop up 2-3 units right at the end of the year, throw them into the program, escalate the depreciation, rent them out for a season or two, and then flip it and go into something else. Which is definitely great. Again, the only area I caution people on that is with the drivables, because as soon as you add that engine and how do I know that? I learned it the hard way. Unit number 16, that Class C I told you about, it's a 2017 with 160,000 miles on it, and I just made my payment every month, and now that thing is beat to crap. We used it a whole bunch. We probably paid it off 3 times without actually paying it off. And now it's an RV. I went to actually trade it in a couple weeks ago. He's like, all right, what do you owe on this thing? I was like, I think I owe like 25. He's like, okay, we'll give you 10 for it. I said, all right, well, I know the game. What if you put me in this brand new RV? He's like, oh yeah, we can make the math work then. I'll say I gave you 30, but yeah, that's where you got to be careful. Unless you have an exit strategy, like there's a nationwide company called Cruise America. You may have heard of them. They're the big billboards on wheels. They build 300 brand new RVs a year, but they have lots where they can turn around and sell. They have that audience where they can sell their inventory to.
Yeah, that makes sense. And especially, I would assume the financing options on RVs are much longer terms than like an auto loan, like a car. And so you might have a 15, 20-year note on an RV, which is a low monthly payment. That's great. But that means you're paying it down very slowly, the principal balance. And if you're using the hell out of it, that thing is depreciating faster than you're paying that loan down.
Yeah, that thing is, yeah. We actually looked at this sweet Freightliner Class A the other day. I mean, the technology in these things are amazing. Like literally as the batteries go down, it'll automatically fire up the generator to recharge it stuff. I mean, it's just crazy. And yeah, my wife's like, no, we're not getting a 20-year note on a Class A RV like that.
For sure. What is the maintenance cost? I would assume that the long-term ownership, depending on how nice the vehicle is and how many bells and whistles it has, probably drastically changes from a real simple basic RV. Can you kind of touch on what it looks like for someone that owns it to maintain these things year over year?
Yeah, if you get into a bunkhouse travel trailer, which those are our best renters, I always say towable travel trailer. Right, you get into a fifth wheel, that's 3 times the cost. You get into a $15,000 to $25,000 towable travel trailer. There's not an extreme amount of maintenance cost. The first year, there's going to be all kinds of stuff you're working on. Why? Because they crank these things out of the factories like nothing, but it's usually covered by warranty. And then after that, right, you're really just you're keeping your roof seals, you're doing your bearings, and you're putting a new set of tires on every year. That's really anything outside of that. It's not super expensive to maintain.
I love that. Is it the opposite if you get something with a motor and touch screens and power slides and all that stuff? Does that change the dynamic?
Oh yeah, as soon as you get into those drivables, these things are bouncing down the road. And there's so many issues that can happen with them. Especially they have these what's called super slides, where it's literally like the whole side of the RV slides out. Then you've also got the generator too, right? So you got the generator, and then you also have your inverter system, your converter system. You start throwing solar panels on there. There's so many variables in there. Yeah, you can really get intensive. The Class B units, the Mercedes style Class Bs that don't have the slide outs, this and that. Those things can make some money, and those things do not depreciate as fast. You just have to be careful on your mileage, which you can do it, on those. You just have to charge appropriately. You see somebody on, RV Sure Outdoorsy, Class B RV, it's a $100,000 RV. It's like unlimited miles, $200 a night. And someone's like, oh, sweet, we'll take it for 5 days. We're going from Florida to California and back. Like, not a good call. You got to do like 50 miles a day, and then it's 75 cents, $1 quarter a mile to make sure you're staying in the right parameters with your depreciation.
Which is the benefit to using a service like your guys's, which you guys know all the pitfalls, and you're managing the unit and saving them from those potential huge mileage trips or major damage or things like that. So I love that. That's cool. You kind of mentioned at the beginning, Gar, when we were talking about a bunch of mistakes that you've made. And I think we talked about RVs quite a bit, but love to just talk about business and life, and just as you've gone through this journey of building this franchise that's got 70 locations, which good for you guys, man. That's no small feat, and you're really doing something unique in this space. What have been some of the major learnings that you had over the past couple of years?
The most major deal was during COVID. I got super passive. I had several successful companies. I had built my real estate portfolio up to about 35 doors, and I just got really passive. I was drinking daily. I was not meeting with my team. I was not keeping an eye on my P&Ls. And what ended up happening is, fast forward to the middle of 2022, I started selling off my real estate, which really, our real estate was always just our retirement. That's what it was for. Our businesses gave us our paychecks. Our real estate was the seed for our retirement. And I started selling off my properties and justifying it, like, oh, I scooped this up for 50K and I can sell it for 175, But the reality was I needed to sell that property to keep things afloat. And I was lying to myself, justifying it. And then it got to a point of where actually I caught COVID in May of 2022. And it was, May of 22 or 23, I forget now. And I caught COVID and have you ever had COVID?
I had it. It was terrible.
Yeah. And and I've had it a couple times. It hits you differently. When I had it this time, literally it was like mental warfare I was in. I had suicidal thoughts. Like, it was just crazy. And I fired the CEO of one of my companies. And literally eventually one day I woke up, I'm like, I'm about to lose everything. Like, literally, the properties there's barely anything left to sell. Like, I'm tapping into lines of credit, this and that. And literally it just smacked me upside of my head. Like, hey, I'm being super passive. I'm about to lose everything. And I literally just got on my knees. I'm like, God, I need help, because I realize, like, I've been a complete idiot for the last 2 years. And God is good and walked me through this process. I had some investors I owed money. I got with them and said, hey, this is what happened. This is where I'm at. And basically just began this process of cleaning up my mess, Thankful for my wife, who said, hey, honey, you built many things. You realize what you've done. Like, let's walk through this. And we did that. And at that time, we had 12 Fireside locations. Bring my real estate portfolio down literally to 2 doors. And we just did the hard work. I reached out to my existing franchisees and said, hey, this is what I've done. This is what I'm working on doing. I got laser focused on my mission, which, I'm a Christian entrepreneur, and that's always been my heart, is to serve other Christian entrepreneurs. And so I got very specific on my messaging of who I'm called to serve, who's my community, of who I serve. And so I did that. And fast forward to today, we got all of our investors paid back, and we're at the 70 locations now, and I'm more clear on my mission and vision. And I love sharing that story for the main purpose of letting people know that there's always hope as an entrepreneur, right? And you study this as an entrepreneur, I'm sure, right? You hear about Thomas Edison, who 1,000 times on the light bulb, and Henry Ford, all these great entrepreneurs who walk through this hero's journey of, you build something amazing, and then it comes crashing down, and then you come back 10 times stronger. And it's so true, and that story is available for everybody. But you've got to realize, like, hey, I screwed up, admit your failures, and then also know, hey, there's always hope. Like, there's always opportunities to come back and crush it.
For sure, man. You can be an overnight success 20 years in the making. I think those are the two most understated things about just being successful in general is, one, how long it takes, and two, how many times you're going to fall down, how many failures you're going to have, how many times you're going to try something, it doesn't work, try something else, doesn't work, try something else. And people don't often talk about that. They love to talk about the success and beat on their chest, and then they don't want to talk about the fact that they spent 20 years and almost lost everything and blah, 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 or did lose everything and had to start over. Was your guys' big thing, did you just feel like you were over leveraged and you had too many different things happening at once, and then we had this catastrophic change in a market, and that caught you on the side of the chin? Or what was really the big reason you felt like, or that all this happened?
It was honestly, I stopped paying attention. I thought I had reached the pinnacle of success. I had a CEO running Fireside, and I'd told my credit counseling company, and I had money coming in from that. And my real estate portfolio was doing good and building money. And then I just got so passive. It's amazing how quickly things can get out of control when you stop looking at the numbers. When you stop checking the budget, okay, how did we do this month? What did we put out in ad spend? What was the return on ad spend? How's our properties looking on maintenance, and just not paying attention to the simple things that it was literally that.
You basically take your eye off the wheel and you just, you slowly drift. And the next thing you know, you're in the side of a wall.
Yeah, completely.
Interesting, man. Well, that's cool. So looking forward, we look backwards, we talked about the past. What do you think the future looks like? What's the future look like for business, for RV rentals? What's AI going to do to the business? I'd love to just hear your thoughts on the next 12 months, 24 months. What are you guys looking at?
Yeah, for the RV rental business, we're super excited about the future, especially in the light of all that's going on with AI. We've been able to utilize AI for our business and our systems. We've literally replaced 3 full-time employees, about $170,000 in overhead that we've already decreased by automations and different things like that. And then 2, I was just watching one of my mentors, Alex Hermosi, the other day, and he was talking about what you need to do with AI in regards to adding value to the marketplace. And then as you do that and everybody's time is freed up, what's the result of that going to be? And he said one of the number one results is going to be people are going to have a massive amount of leisure time. So, right, travel is going to increase. So we're like, man, we're super excited for that because that's going to increase our business. And then also just my passion for real estate is plugging that into this. So buying storage facilities, buying small campgrounds, and just really, leveraging all that together. So yeah, we're excited.
I love it, Gar. Well, man, thanks for coming on. How's the best way people can get a hold of you? How do people need to reach out?
Yeah, if you go to garrussell.com, GARRUSSELL.com, you can download any of my books. I've got 5 books on Amazon, but I give them away for free as well. You can download books, see our podcast, all the different things that we got going on.
I love it, man. Maybe you have to have me on your podcast now.
Yeah, sounds good.
We'll drop your website link in the show notes. And yeah, super interesting because we normally just talk about investing in short-term rentals, but obviously there's so many other investment categories that are related to hospitality, right? That's what you're doing renting RVs is hospitality. People are using this on vacation. They're using it for fun, for travel, for making memories. And many of the same principles still really apply to that. And so I appreciate you coming on. Exciting, interesting to hear about your story. And we'll make sure to drop all your information in the show notes so people can reach out.
Yeah. Hey, one more thing. I just thought of this. I do this with my Airbnb. I have an RV hookup right on the side of that property. So if I get somebody who reaches out, my Airbnb sleeps 16 people. But if people want more than that, right, that's a whole other avenue there with the short-term rentals. Hey, we can bring an RV and partner with somebody and bam. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool opportunity. Yeah, I mean, we've seen some people do that with like Turo, where they might have a vehicle in the driveway and you can rent the vehicle. So you fly into town to go to Disney World and you're renting the house, but there's also a car in the garage that you could rent if you wanted to as well. And I could see that, right? You rent a big house, but if it's got an RV pad, you can also get an RV parked there. It's almost like having an ADU unit on the property for people. So
yeah, exactly. Love it.
Cool. All right, Gar, we'll have you on again, man. Thank you for your time. Great to connect. And everybody, we appreciate you listening to the STR Investing Podcast. Make sure you check out Monday's episode. We got that Monday market data report, and we'll catch you next Friday for another guest special.